3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasing the Racing, episode 26. Kindly sponsored by Incontango Training, a leading finance, risk and treasury consultancy, but more importantly by Grayson fans. So straight
a little bit of bass on the end there. You're really getting into that. Obviously, it's great to have them as long-term sponsors. They keep constantly sponsoring this bullshit that we keep throwing out there, which is great.
And we've got a little bit of a different setup for this podcast. This is our first podcast that's going to be also a video, so we're filming. So if anyone that listens to the podcast would like to watch us for some reason, then
mainly you, mate. I have a face for radio. This is why it's been kind of successful to this point. But until people I don't have the scratchiest voice like a lot of people in this motorsport, but it's when you put this face on that, it's essentially like a car crash. I'm not gonna lie. There you go. So anyone watch it anyway? Fake smiles. Fake smile. Gotta love fake smiles.
So we'll stick this out as a podcast as usual. So it'll still go to all the places it usually goes, but we'll also stick it on YouTube
to the dark web.
Yeah, and if people prefer that, then you can listen there. But on with today's show. So we've got for you a bit of BSB gossip, and obviously we've had Donington Park at the weekend. So
yeah, look at it. This is a good thing about getting filmed. The smile on your face, you're gonna I'm so proud.
A bit of
so proud of you, but we'll go into that later on. But I'm so proud of you, Chrissy.
And we've got a road racing catch up from the not last podcast, the podcast before.
The one before that.
We missed a few bits out, so we'll sort of round up the things we've been missing out and what's coming up. And also we've got a club racing update. So we're joined on Skype by Erin from UK Clubsport, and we'll get
the American that turned into a Geordie.
The Geordie Yank.
The Geordie Yank.
And
if you said that quick enough, you might get away with saying something else there, Chrissy.
So joined for basically like a catch up, what's happening in the club racing scene, like which championships are going down the wire and what is left for the season. But before we get on with the topics, as we usually start, have you been up to much in the last week? Obviously, it hasn't been long since our last podcast, because we recorded the last podcast on the Thursday before Donington Park, so we've actually only been home a few days.
Chrissy, I don't think I've actually been home, because obviously I drove from I was working in Scotland, and then drove down to Donington Park to meet you, and then the Hickman, of course. But I'll tell you what, you actually showed me some really, really good stuff on this laptop about, obviously, like, each episode's got it's got a review, hasn't it? Its own, counter system, hasn't it?
Aye, so it records, who's downloading it, how many, that type of thing.
So when we first started this, so go on, pull it up here. Pull it up on this system. Because obviously when we first started, it's like anything, you need to build traction into these things. But, hey, the only way is up, Chrissy. The only way is up.
That's it. We've had a record-breaking week for the podcast. Obviously, Peter Hickman being a fantastic guest. And we've had lots of feedback on. I don't know if you check the Twitter, but we've had a lot of feedback as that's been our best pod and so on. So obviously, thanks to Peter for coming on the podcast, and credit to you as well for finishing work quite late, driving all the way down from Scotland to Donington to then drive back home to go back to work the next day.
I didn't even go home. I just drove straight to Scotland.
Aye,
I just full on Red Bull frenzy. But I tell you what, but when you're talking about where credit is credit due, Hickman, you know what I mean? What a lovely, lovely lad, mind, without a doubt. Because the sheer fact that, he came a lot of people would be stick up their arse, wouldn't they, and say, look, I'm not doing that without money. There would be, because he is literally a top professional rider. Yeah. But he just said, get yourself into his motorhome. What time of night? It was mental that, I just looked around thinking, I'll never be able to afford things like this, ever. But
then he was like, do you want a coffee? And we were like, aye, coffee, milk, no sugar. He was like, would you want a cookie thing, or this one, or this one, or this? He had all the different flavour coffes. I think you tried one, didn't you?
I did. I didn't sleep all night. It was actually work to treat. It must have been some Colombian magic in there. He must have been dabbling with Tony. But no, it's it just shows how great this sport is, Chrissy. Because you just get such open people. Don't get me wrong, it's like any sport, like any walk of life, you get arseholes. But Hickman is far, far from that, and it's just bloody refreshing to have that. And we can't thank him enough. And obviously the traction that it's gained for the show is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, so
we may never get this again, Mike, but you know, it's been good.
Peaked.
We've peaked early on episode. I've even forgotten already. What episode are we on?
This one's 26.
26. Well, we've peaked at 25. This
Aye.
is grand.
So we had a strong 960 downloads in the first day that it got released, and then since then we've had a lot more. So really strong episode for us, and hopefully we'll go strength to strength. We've got a few good guests lined up for the off season, so I'm hoping that we'll be able to,
It's a shame this is filming, because normally I'd lean away from the mic going, what are we on about? This is captured. But I don't think this GoPro thing's a good idea, to be fair. We can't be giving up the signs like. But anyway, professionalism's got to move on, Chrissy. It's got to move on. So go on then. So
this week we didn't really get round to it. Since Donington, have you just been grafting?
Oh, just grafting, man. Just been, just this. There's nothing worse than people.
Where have you been working this week?
Believe it or not, I'm not a people person. Far from it. I like talking crap and shite, but people do me head in, and we're all guilty of it, and just people don't get their own way, and they're just like, for God's sake, it's just a tree, relax, it's not going to go anywhere till I get there, so just wind your neck in, princess, just wind it in. But
have you been working in England or up in Scotland?
On the borders, and then Scotland, and then a couple of days up at Harry Potter's house in Alnwick, and then I'm at Stoke-on-Trent next week, and then I've got a day up in Edinburgh, and then up. Honestly, I don't even know why I live in a house. I'm literally a travelling gypsy in the world's smallest van, and I don't understand why people slag off gypsies. They don't pay council tax. They just leave their rubbish everywhere. They're just brilliant. The lifestyle coming from you and me in a camper van right now. We're living the dream, Chris.
Not quite as posh as Peter Hickman's camper van, but it's
you can't fart in here, mate.
for our Chasing the Racing studio. But
what about you? What's the crack?
Wait, it's actually my birthday today. So
happy birthday, son.
So 24 today. And last couple of days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, just busy at work, dead flat out. So obviously after a race weekend, it's almost like living two lives at times. That's how I sort of feel. Like you're sort of at racing and you're sort of fully concentrating on that, and everything from home kind of gets put to one side. And then Monday morning, everything, you have to sort of park all the racing stuff, and you've got like obviously another sort of life of teaching. So
now your students, obviously, do they actually know you race bikes yet, or have you just kept that totally separate?
I don't mention it, so
you've walked in with your nice waistcoat on with your pocket watch, just slamming the briefcase down, and they're like, he's obviously got his leg over on the weekend. That's what they'll be thinking, won't they? Now there will be, won't there? It's like, kids, I've just won I've won a British title race, you know what I mean? And they have no idea. They'll be thinking, I say he's had a busy weekend, hasn't he? Jesus, look at him, he's light on his toes. They have no idea then.
No, none of the kids.
Right.
None of the staff did know, but then one of them found out and sent an email around to the full staff body saying, well done for winning a race at the weekend. So from now, all the staff do know, but
would you wanted to keep that secret?
It's nice, people coming and congratulating you. And I do enjoy the recognition, but it's just because it's. I know. I meant on a professional note, a total professional note. At the end of the day, if I book in work and then say I go lose a finger in Northern Ireland, it's a bit like, how do I get out of this one? You know what I mean? You just call in sick on a Monday. What happened? Well, I fell down the stairs and I've broken both my legs and my face. It's like when I first started racing, so when I was in the early years of secondary school, there was a sort of time where I needed a couple of Fridays off to go to, for the test days. And at first, I think we were basically skived a few Fridays, but obviously then there was a pattern starting to form. So it got to the point where it was like, we need to either come clean about this and ask for the days off properly, or whatever. So went in to see the headmaster at the time and explained what I did, and
that you're a dirty liar.
and to be honest, I was expecting them to say that I wasn't allowed the time off, and obviously it would have caused loads of problems. And it was the total opposite. The principal at the time was like, couldn't be any more supportive. The days off that I needed, like no problem. And his philosophy was, if you want something done, give it to a busy person, because a busy person knows how to manage the time, and you're much more likely to get something done if you give it to a busy person. So the fact that I was busy and I was doing the racing and my schoolwork, he took a positive out of that, and
That's
throughout
a hell of a
school,
mentor, that man,
yeah,
isn't it?
and so then when it did come to exams, I sort of thought to myself, well, the school's been good and given us time off, so it's like, it's only fair if I do a bit extra to sort of catch up.
Yeah.
And I did quite well at school and stuff, so sort of repaid the do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I totally agree, because obviously that's definitely a subject that a lot of parents will be going through. And not only that, a lot of students, and you think that's it's just sacrificing time all the time, isn't it? And fair play. Hey, whatever school you went to, I bet there'll be a load of kids trying to get into it now. Like, you support the BSB, I want in.
That's it. So the topics, like I said, the topics for today, we've got the road racing catch up, all the crack from the BSB, and we've got a club racing update coming from Aaron from UK Clubsport. So we'll start with the road racing catch up. The podcast before the last one, so podcast before the Pete Hickman one, we were talking about the Manx Grand Prix, and I think we should start there. So
because obviously I totally knacked up on the names, but obviously I've written down. Well, I haven't written down of Lauren, lovely Lauren. There's she has kindly wrote down the top 3 from the races, which is absolutely brilliant. Now, the typically newcomers A race, I can't even pronounce that. Go on, you try that first one. Pierre Van. This is going so well, isn't it? Aye, followed by Samuel Mosley. Is that Mosley? Hold on,
I'll have to put my specs on.
You're gonna get the glasses on. So this is going swimmingly well. Alan Brooks. Oh, yeah, this is just going mint, isn't it? Here we go, Chrissy. Go on, here.
So newcomers A: Pierre Van Bien, Samuel Mosley, Alan Brooks. Newcomers B is Mark Kirby, Robert Cairns, David Stiff. It's a great second name, that, isn't it?
That's a fantastic surname. Well done on your result, by the way. And
excellent,
that is the best name in the paddock.
Newcomers C: Andrew Jackson, Adrian Scaife, and Peter Gibson. Lightweight 1 is James Hind.
Well, we've obviously discussed him. He's had an amazing. He's also won the 250 G. Is it G? It's a British title, isn't it?
James did,
yeah.
Oh, the 250 GP.
Yeah, is that?
I think the run with no limits, but it is a British championship.
There we are then.
Yeah, so
well done,
racing.
James. So
and lightweight 1, James Hind, Francesco Curianga, is it? Curianga?
Let's have a look.
And this one here. English isn't my strong point.
No, it's not. I can bet.
You've put us on the spot here,
I know.
And then followed by Dave Butler and ultra lightweight 1, Lancaster.
No, that's Lancelot.
Yeah,
it is Lancelot. Usiart. Oh God, you need. Oh my Gideon, this is not going well. And then obviously in second, Tom Snow. Third, Alex Sinclair. Now he's not a very well lad. He's got Crohn's disease.
Really?
Yeah, so he struggles like mad, and he was in and out of hospital the entire time. And you think, fair play to you, because he kept going, and he's been going there like since God was a lad. To be fair, he's got he's like Benjamin Button of the paddock. He doesn't look his age. He's actually getting younger every time you look at him. Obviously, we're going to move on from there. So the lightweight 2 was the same result as lightweight 1. And then we are going into the junior, which is obviously Nathan Harrison on the 10-car Honda. He did a fantastic job. And Stephen Smith, who openly slagged us off on Twitter, because obviously we didn't mention him.
Oh, did he?
And the best thing is, he's a big lad, strong jaw and covered in tattoos. So apologies. Stephen, sorry mate. Obviously Andy Farrell, and then in the senior, obviously Nathan, and then Stephen Parsons, top lad. I've clicked the wrong button here, and our very own North Yorkshire Road Racing Supporters Club, Brad Vickers, in third there. So apologies, it's taken God knows how long to get that fixed on that side of things, but yeah, there you are. That was the Manx Grand Prix, and obviously the classic we discussed, and Yeah.
And then following on from that, obviously you were at Oliver's Mount, what was it, 3 weeks ago from now?
Was it 3 weeks ago?
Aye. Because it was 2 weeks last week, so it
He's
must be
been a lot. It's my giddy anti.
So you were there on the Counting Race and Twin.
Yes.
And did you say it was the first time or second time the track?
Second time. Obviously, you just it all blurs in, doesn't it? It's like trying to ask when you were at certain tracks. But no, I've only been there the once, and first time on a Super Twin. But no, absolutely. Like I say, it's a huge honour every time. The Counting family asked me to ride that bike because we've discussed it, and it's worth discussing every time we get onto this subject. James was an amazing rider, especially around Oliver's Mount. It was definitely his home circuit, and it's a lot like when you go to Knockhill and you just get that extra oomph. James had that, so there was quite a bit of pressure on that side of things, not from the team, like never from the team and never from the organisers, just that self.
Pressure that you put yourself under.
Exactly. When you just feel that little bit of a monkey on your back thinking, well, look, that the knowledge was there with the bike and the gearing was spot on, the setup was spot on, and you just think, my God, it was full factory. It really was full factory. And like Fran and Neil, Fran, James's dad there, it was just set everything up. Awning, bike was ready to go. Mark Goodens was my teammate for the weekend. He was on a ZX6, James's ZX6. And he had a fantastic one. We both qualified for the Gold Cup, and I was over the moon because the Gold Cup is 22 of the fastest riders throughout the whole weekend. Now the grids were that full, they were absolutely ram full for every class. Now at the Barry Sheen at the beginning of the year, they were struggling for entries because obviously it was just starting to come back, and the club needed to build that confidence back in. But like I say, the entries were rammed, absolutely rammed. But me being on. Well, I was just on the Super Twin, didn't have an additional bike, but I qualified mid-grid on a Super Twin in the Gold Cup, and it's 22 of the fastest lads throughout the whole weekend. And
so you're racing against 600s and 1000s?
I think yeah.
Is there just 600s or
just six? I was the only twin out in that race.
Bloody hell.
And I was just mid-grid, and it was just like went to the back straight, and honestly, I just felt I felt like I was going to be a fly on a dashboard. I was like, oh my God, here we go, whoa, 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 flying past. Obviously, made it up on the brakes, and considering I've got a bit more natural traction action than the other riders, it definitely helped. But no, as far as the racing's concerned, still learning with the team. They've had some different engine modifications from the TT. So it wasn't quite on its peak, but don't get me wrong, the bike was running amazing. Like obviously bar them little hiccups, it wasn't crisp off the bottom. They've changed the cam timing, so it definitely had more top end. But when you're on that initial crack, it was numb. When you just mid corner, you've sat on a tier and it wasn't wanting to sit it down. It was definitely not a chassis situation. Just cracking the front, I'm like, I'm 100% here. And it was just lull, just it was like a really lazy two-stroke at first, but once she picked up, she was flying. And obviously Ian Locker, who I had some really good fights with, obviously only did the 2 races in the Super Twin class, one in the dry and one in the wet. I learned a lot. The lads won 100, nearly 150 times around there, man.
He's the most successful man around Oliver's Mount.
There we are then. So obviously getting tucked in behind that amazing pattern, 60,000 pounds worth of pattern. But because of the noise restraints, even Oliver's Mount, I know most road races like in Northern Ireland and well, I think they all. I don't think there is a noise restriction. Correct me if I'm wrong on that side of things. But especially the TT, there's no noise restrictions whatsoever. So they normally run like 2 open megas. But this place, they had to restrict it, like with a silencer pipe. So I think it actually pulled the pattern a fair bit back on it. It still had the legs on us down the straights, but when
it wasn't as much of a difference.
Exactly, that's it. So it was a very, very, very close race, and there was 3 of us battling for the front. It was Joey Thompson on the Kramer. Now, the Kramer bikes, have you ever seen one of those?
The last time I think we were at Scarborough, I seen it in the paddock, but I haven't actually seen it on track. What exactly is it?
It's a 6. Hold on, is it a 650? It's a
675.
I don't think it's a 675. That's terrible. Sean Anderson actually works alongside with Kramer, and Eddie Roberts is the dealer.
All right, okay.
For the importer, shall I say, now from now on for the Kramer motorcycles, but they're a proper bespoke motorcycle. You know, like actually a race bike, you know, nice and light and quick turn, lots of punch from the bottom. And I tell you what, to put James's twin between them two, because at the end of the day, the ER6 is a shopping trolley. It's a commuter motorcycle that's been modified into a race bike.
Do you know how much them Kramers are?
I actually have no idea, to be fair. But like anything, you know, it's a proper race, but it's a race package. You can actually buy these bikes and go straight out. Now, Johnny Towers, RST owner, he was battling on with. Oh, yeah, that's terrible. I'm terrible with names, aren't I, Chrissy? I'm absolutely crap with names. But he was battling on for a lad from Germany. He was like Supersport, like world Supersport material. And he was on the Kramer, and he was off going Johnny Towers, Ryan Farquhar's KMR Super Twin. It shows what the bikes are capable of, and they're really, really competitive. Because it's like I say, the bikes are bespoke. Same with the pattern. You know, they did the right thing. You know, they built a race bike first and then put a license plate on it. Now, I don't think the Kramers are road legal.
Oh, they're not a road bike.
Now, don't own me that, but I've never seen one actually publicised as on the road bike side of things. But obviously, they're mass produced, so they are legal to race.
Homologated, yeah.
That's the word. That's the word. Big word of the day. But like I say, to go around there was just absolutely brilliant with someone that expertise. Because the last lap, he blocked every corner, but around there, it's such a tight backfeed track. You don't. It doesn't. There's a couple of sections where it flows, but you can block so easily.
Was there? If it was a short circuit, is there anywhere were you close enough to lunge them? But
Totally.
You sort of didn't want to. You had to do it safely, so you didn't bother, type of thing.
It's like yes and no. You know, you can show them the wheel, but because it you need respect in this game, and I think if you know,
especially with a legend like Ian Locker as well.
My Gideon, I would. Oh,
you wouldn't forgive yourself if you took him out, would you?
Imagine that, man. It's literally a black spot on your career, that, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, Dominic, aren't you that dickhead who wiped out that legend Ian Locker? But that's not an excuse. At the end of the day, when you're there, you're not thinking like that. You go for it, but you've got to pick your moments like everywhere. And Ian knew where those moments were going to appear.
And blocked them.
Exactly, he blocked them, and I'm thinking, I've got him here, whoop, and like, he's blocked it, and the next opportunity you think, I can make a proper move on him, he blocked it again, and that's racing. Nothing dirty about it.
Did you have much competition from behind? Obviously, Joey was third on the grid. Did he cause you any problems?
Yeah, Joey was right in the mix, you know what I mean? He kept trying to sit me up into the first corner, but you know, I just kept letting the brake. Like at the end of the day, he was proper sitting us up. I'm about to tip in. He was pretty much rubbing against the fairing. But at the end of the day, you know, this kitty's got claws. So, you know, but that is racing. You know, Joey didn't actually. You know, there was a couple of brushes up the side of the fairing, but nothing. You know,
good close racing,
and rubbing is racing, and there was nothing dirty from Joey's side. He was ambitious. Like needless to say, but obviously at the back sections he wasn't quite with me and Ian on the back. But don't get me wrong, he was there in the fight without a doubt. But his bike had the handling capability, Lockers had the outright power, and now we were somewhere in the middle on the counting bike. So it made some really tight racing, and no crashes in our race, and but no, as far as the meeting went, there was a sidecar team who had a really big smash down there.
I heard. Any updates?
I haven't heard any updates on that side of things, but obviously, I really hope this is correct. But at the time, it was obviously hurt, but nothing gravely, shall we say? So, which is the important thing.
And I've just seen in the UK Clubsport magazine there's going to be back to 4 rounds at Oliver's Mount next year. So they're going to have the have you got the calendar there?
Oh yes, we're just nicking the UK Clubsport. Yeah, there you are. Plugging. Go on there. On here we go. So on April the 25th and 26th is the Spring Cup. In June we have the Cock of the North. I thought that was me. But anyway, so that's on the 20th and 21st. We have then in August on the 1st and 2nd is the Barry Sheen, and then back for September 12th and 13th at the Gold Cup again.
Excellent. I'm really pleased that it's been a successful. Since the new sort of management has taken over, all the sort of feedback that I've heard, it's been a great success, really well ran, good pretty good attendance. Obviously, the weather was shit on Sunday, but it
was wetter than an otter's pocket.
Apparently, on the Saturday, there was a real good crowd there.
Oh, without a doubt. And I tell you what, there was a fair few people turned up on the Sunday as well, which is always good.
Which is, fair play to them for standing in the rain for that.
Exactly. And I think more importantly, fair play to the club, because a lot of people would have been scared to not push that. At the end of the day, you pull up on the grid. No one's poking you with a stick going, go out and race. We all want to race. And at the end of the day, the throttle works both ways. And people forget that. If you want to go out and do something, they delivered that opportunity, and it was safe racing. It was horrible, mind. It really was horrible. But no, I think, like you say, the club have really pushed that event forward, and hopefully it gains more traction.
Smashing. And is there any more club racing updates?
Club racing.
Sorry, not club racing.
Oliver's Mount updates.
Road racing. Sorry.
Oh no, obviously you've got the results there, haven't you, for the Irish Championship from this year. But even I tell you what, more on a personal note, about Oliver's Mount. May I just say, Mike Norbury, you absolute legend. Now, Mike Norbury's one of those lads who is just. He just keeps himself to himself, but the lad is a serious talent. He was on his own Honda 600, and he was underpowered, and the only lad who beat him was Lee Johnson. And obviously Lee Johnson's been winning at international level this year, and he's just turned up with his own, his girlfriend, his couple of mates, and his dad, and he's been winning races both in the dry and in the wet. Obviously in the wet, he's a maestro.
Aye.
I mean, I think for someone with underpower, the bike's totally underpowered, the confidence goes up when it rains, because you just mentally go, this drags everyone back.
Yeah, it's a leveler, isn't it?
It's a total leveler, and Mike Norbury definitely proved that he was out there. Same with like Sam Johnson, he's part of the North Yorkshire Road Racing Club, and Sam Johnson was absolutely flying, and the amount of people that were like names that pop up just because of the wet conditions. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I tell you what, I'll quickly read out the top three in each of the Irish Road Racing Championships.
Yeah, please, mate, go for it.
So Gary Dunlop's taken the Irish Moto 3/125 GP title, followed by Melissa Kennedy and Derek McGee. Do you know how Derek's doing, by the way?
No, he's absolutely fine. I think he decided, what happens in the rumour mill of the paddock, but it's a case of, I think he just wanted to go through this winter injury-free.
Aye.
It's a case, I think he dropped out from the classic TT and he just went, look, because obviously the last couple of years he's been caught out by bad luck, not bad riding.
Yeah. And
I think he's done the right thing, getting prepared for next season.
Do you know much about Melissa Kennedy?
She won her first race. Now, oh God, no.
The last race of the season she won.
Oh, go on, and what round was that then? That's
this
terrible.
Is round 9.
Round 9. Melissa Kennedy, she won her first race. Obviously, Gary Dunlop in that championship's just been absolutely. He's been flying. He's got years of experience, and he knows how to build competitive bikes, not just only for him, for others. But it was great for Melissa Kennedy to win her first race there.
Fantastic, flying the flag for the females.
Well, that's it. That's it.
And then following on, we've got the Irish Lightweight Supersport. David Howard's taken that championship by Brian Lofkin and Paul Williams. So top 3 in that championship. Then we've got the Irish Super Twin Championships won by Michael Sweeney, very convincingly, taken quite a few race wins there. Followed by Vinnie Brennan and Andy Farrell, with Darrell Tweed in 4th. That bloody hell, that's a big field. There's 43 in the championship for that, so there must be some decent racing. Then Irish Supersport, Michael Sweeney's taken the championship ahead of
Sweeney.
Darrell Tweed and Derek McGee coming in 3rd. Again, big strong grids for that, that race.
Absolutely.
Irish Superbike, Derek Shields takes the honours with, I think, pretty much. He's either finished 1st or 2nd in every single race that he's either DNF'd 1st or 2nd.
I tell you what though, that's not walking away racing, that
tight racing.
I mean, it's like Sweeney, Shields, and McGee. I mean, if you watch them, man. I mean,
and Thomas Maxwell as well.
You see, Thomas is coming on leaps and bounds. He's just one of them. He's been on the scene, but he's learning his craft, and he's just going up and up and up and up. And
finished the season really strong as well, with 2 second places at the last round.
Can't argue with that.
Derek Shields, Michael Sweeney 2nd, Thomas Maxwell 3rd, and Derek McGee 4th. Just ahead of Darrell Tweed, and a guest of our on the show, Forrest Dunn, who I met at Donington for the first time. Cracking lad. And then following on that, Irish Supersport, we've got Vinnie Brennan, Dominic Cottrell, and...
Yeah, look, there's only one Dominic in road racing, son. That's me, so you can piss off. No one might look if he's 7 foot tall.
I'm not sure. How would you pronounce Eoin? Is that an Irish name? Eoin. I don't know if that's right.
We're going to skip that, but well done.
How would you pronounce that? Osishru?
Which
We'll go with that. Eoin Osishru. I hope that's right. Anyway, well done.
We're getting multilingual on this program.
Absolutely. And then Irish Supersport, we've got Thomas Henry, is that Dermot Cleary and Andy McAllister. That's well, especially them two very Irish names, aren't they? Dermot Cleary and Andy McAllister.
They're probably born in Stoke-on-Trent.
Yeah. So top 3 in that championship, very good, and it was pretty close between the top 2 there, so it's been a good battle. And then following on that, we've got the Irish Classic 250cc championships, which was won by Brian Mattia, ahead of Philip Shaw and Richard Ford.
You know Philip Shaw?
Aye.
I think he's actually got the record for the most Irish championships in a row. I think it's 7 in a row.
Right.
That's more than Dunlops. That's any of the Dunlops.
Aye.
And guess where he's from?
Go on.
Hexham.
Is he?
He's from Acomb. Like over. Like,
does he live over here? Lives over there?
No, I don't know where he is at the moment. I think he's moved over to Northern Ireland. But hey, he's got hey, get the locals over there and we will conquer 7 championships in Northern Ireland. You can't argue with that.
We've got Irish Classic 350cc championship. Barry Davidson ahead of Ed Manley and Ian Thompson. Again, big strong grids there. 26 lads who have got points, so strong grades. Irish Classic 1000cc championship won by Richard Ford ahead of Ian Thompson and Philip Shaw, and the Irish Classic 500cc championship won by Barry Davidson ahead of Freddie Stewart and Andy Kildare.
There we go.
There's a lot of lads that seem to race in more than one class over in Ireland, where I think that's something that sort of differs from, like say if you went to a Thundersport meeting or an MRO meeting, very, very rarely would you have somebody that's racing in more than one category, where over in Ireland it seems to be like much, much more common.
Well, on the national scene, your practice and your qualifying it together, you get 5 laps.
Ah, right, okay, so it pays dividends to
be in multiple classes, you know. But you think about that, right? That's actually theoretically harder than what you're doing.
Yeah.
Not you personally, but I'm talking about the sport in general, because you think experience is massively key around there, because you can go to Cadwell. And Cadwell, you can pay for any track day, off you go and learn the place. They shut the road here once a year for these events. Armoy, Cookstown, Skerries, once a year, and you get 5 laps to put yourself on the grid.
It is. It's almost like a different skill, isn't it?
It totally is, and the thing, and that massively highlights with like Shields, Sweeney, McGee, Jordan, Adam McLean, you know, all the front runners. You just think they can go out and qualify like that. They're on last year's pace by lap 2.
Bang straight on the pace.
And that is something I need to learn. And because like they get to the TT and like they're getting faster every time. They are getting faster every time, but they kind of just go bang. And it seems quite hard for them to move. You know what I mean? They'll go out the first night and they'll be top of the sheets.
Yeah, get to their pace straight away, but then
don't get me wrong, is a shit hot pace. It's so fast.
Yeah, where you take some bedding in.
I do, and it's definitely an issue for me. It really is.
Well, like Peter was saying on the podcast last week, him and Dean sort of usually differ that way, but more in a racing sense, where Dean bangs straight on the money from the first sector.
But you see,
where Hickman sort of beds himself in.
Harrison cut his teeth in road racing.
Aye. So I maybe from that.
You know, because he did the Irish stuff as well as Oliver's Mount, which is the exact same. Oliver's Mount, you get 5 laps.
Aye.
So he's so well tuned and going off you go, and it's same with the TT.
While we're talking about the road racing, I just think it's
is lovely talking about road racing all the time.
Feel at home.
They are, not you hair gel wankers all over the place. There you go.
I just want to mention Hardy Breed are doing a really, really cool sort of...
Definitely, mate. Definitely.
And basically, the raising money on... You can go GoFundMe or PayPal. And basically, well, I'll just read out what the script is. After much thought and consideration, I thought I would attempt to try and use a hardy breed as a platform to raise money to help national road racing in 2020. Initially, I set a target of raising 3,000, but after a great start of 2,000 plus in the first month, I want to aim bigger. I plan to raise an end-of-season prize fund and trophies for the senior Supersport class as the main feeder class for 600s and Open. Currently, £2,040 has been raised, so current prize fund is first is 1,000, second 500, third 300, fourth 200, and fifth £40. Imagine 10k and paying senior Supersport prize support a prize fund of first $4,000, second $2,000, third 1,500, then it goes down 1,000, 750, 400, 250, and 100. Every little helps. 198 days to Cookstown 100. Figures will adjust accordingly depending on what's raised, pay further down the field, etc. But every single penny will be put back into the sport. The sport has struggled recently, and I'd like to help rejuvenate it. Please give what you can, little, large, it'll all add up. So yeah,
and he's gaining a lot of traction with that, which is brilliant.
It's a fantastic idea, you know, for the lads that it's costing them a lot of money, and it's a great sort of scheme set up to help, you know, give them a bit of a boost. And you know, that could be the difference between somebody, you know, getting an upgraded bike and, you know, progressing in the sport. So fantastic initiative, and I would urge anyone that's in a position that would like to support road racing in Northern Ireland, get over to a Hardy Breed on Twitter, and he's got the links on there for donating.
Well, not just that, obviously the Hardy Breed, he is constantly updating. He's actually quicker than the actual timekeepers themselves. Mm-hmm. He's constantly talking about the gossip in the paddock. He's definitely worth a follow. If you're a road racing fan, he's definitely worth a follow. And you know, that money he was offered personally at first, you know, to try and help him to boost it, you know, try and do what we're doing here, you know, trying to build it up. And he just went, no, I actually want to put it back to the riders, and that's how this came about. And, you know, fair play to him, mind. Mm-hmm. And he'd be listening because he's a little gossip bitch. But, hey, everyone's got to work. But, no, hey, like you say, Chrissy, that was well highlighted, mate, because everything's going to a good cause here. So, well done, mate.
So, anything else for the road racing, or on the BSB?
Oh no, the only thing I need to shout out for is Frank Hopkinson's. He gave us £10 towards the swear jar there, so which we're keeping topping up, which is grand. Good. And obviously Eiley David, she put some money in as well. Hope you're doing all right, dear. She's a hell of a fan of mine there.
Keen supporter.
And she likes you, but who doesn't, Chrissy? You know what I mean?
Spot on. Well, yeah. So
let's move on. Let's move on to the proper news.
So on to British Superbikes. Obviously, we recorded the last podcast at the round, but it was on the Thursday evening before the weekend got underway. So we're kind of talking about looking forward to the weekend and predictions. So obviously it's been like four days since the weekend, and
4 long days.
Yeah, and it was a fantastic weekend. At long last, after 6 years of travelling up and down the country and crashing, disappointments, getting so close, and then, you know, for whatever reason, not managing to follow through with the race win, took me my first victory for 6 years by a nice 3.5 second margin.
Good lad.
Mate, it was unreal. Obviously, you were there, and I actually told you this after the race, but do you know, sometimes when you're fully concentrating on racing, and then you'll just have like weird thoughts about like it's just something totally random.
Is Greg Pasty's bringing out a new one?
And during that race, there was a number of times which I was breaking into the foggy S's, and because it had been wet and then it had dried, there was a dead thin dry line, but then there was damp patches. So it was those conditions where you're looking for the dry and you're like 100% concentrating. So I was like going into the foggy S's looking for the wet patches, trying to avoid them, and I was just thinking, Dom's here watching, I better pull my finger out and get a result.
Because I'll be calling you worse than shite if you didn't.
Absolutely, but yeah, it was a mega weekend for myself, and obviously, you know, I was on the back of 3 fourth places, and every single time I'd missed out on the podium by like either just over a tenth or just over.
It's not your first podium this year, though. You've had
podiums. I've had a few podiums, but first race win, and it was. some people say it about winning's like a bit of an anticlimax feeling. Not at all. It was just like it's that's all I think about anyway, and been working towards, and to finally to get that first win in the Superstock 1000 class. It was mega.
When was your last win?
That's what I'm saying. 6 years ago.
So 6 years ago, but what bike?
It was on the Triumph Triple Challenge, and it was that race win meant I'd won the championship, so it was quite a special win.
Yeah.
But then from then, I did a bit of racing in European Superstock the year after, then Superstock 600 in BSB, and then I went up to a 1000, raced and then I've been on a Superstock 1000 bike since.
But you've had podiums all the way through that, though.
Yes.
So did you have every class from that point onwards? Were you on the podium? So stock 600 and everything like that.
Weirdly, I actually had a...
By the way, my guest tonight is Chrissy Rouse. If anyone's wondering what's going on, carry on.
I had a... I've only had one podium in Superstock 600, and that was when I did a wild card for the Team Haribo Star Mix the year I won the Triumphs. But then when I was actually in Superstock 600, I didn't. My best result that year was 5th place, and then stepped up to a Superstock 1000. And first year, I think my best result was about 5th, and then the following season, 2017, I had a lot of podiums that year, lots of seconds and thirds. It was the year that Danny Buchan, Richard Cooper, myself and Michael Rutter were sort of the four battling at the front week in, week out. And I should have had a race win that year. There was a race at Silverstone which I led. I made a mistake, dropped back. Richard Cooper took the lead. Then I closed him in from quite far distance, and I was leading going on to the basically 2 corners to go, comfortably leading, and I took the front and crashed. So that should have been my first race win a few years ago, but shoulda, woulda, coulda. What's the saying? If me grandma had a pair of balls, she would be me granddad.
I've never heard that one, but anyway,
you can add it to your dictionary. And but yeah, to finally get that win, it's. I try and explain to people that don't understand racing
what that
the
actually
fact,
is.
The fact I don't take drugs, I don't drink alcohol, I don't, racing.
You sound
is
like
my,
a terrific night out, by the way. Carry
on. my drug is essentially the feeling of winning, and
you almost overdosed.
Well, to not have that for so long and to be craving it. It's a massive deal to me, and I've always said after at the end of a championship, if a championship's already been won, then it's not the same as winning a race. At the beginning of the season, like Coops has already wrapped up the championship. He's sort of hasn't. He's not going to put it on the line to try and beat us.
No.
So
he had a fit. I'm not. Yeah, right. I was there at that podium ceremony, right? And the first person coming down the stairs with a suspicious paedophilic moustache. And if he's listening, I am only joking. It suits you, mate. I'm only just. I can't grow one. But anyway, he came down the stairs, and the lad is a true gent and a true sportsman. But he did say to me, "Don't you dare mention this on the podcast." So, Coops, this is a shout out for you, son. Yeah. But no, honestly, the moustache is great. But no, he's a true sportsman, and he was shaking your hand. But mate, from me, right? I was there. I didn't see you cross the line from where I was watching on the track. And it was just like, you bloody better do this. See, I didn't know about you. Like that moment where you lost the front, leading a race. So that must have been on your mind. Like, you're going around going, I'm in front. Because obviously, back markers, you were just mowing through them.
Yeah.
Mowing through them. And you just thought, at the end of the day, racing is not just about cracking the throttle. You've got to be concentrating. You've got to be tactical. And you were passing safely, but aggressively. Yeah, which you've got to do.
That's it. For anyone that didn't get to see the race, all morning had been really, really wet morning warm up, and the race before ours, everyone went out on wet tyres. So we were sat in the garage with the full wet setup, ready for the race, and then it was about 4 minutes before pit lane opened. My dad had been watching down at the track, and he came running up.
He can't get to every meeting as well, so that must have been mint.
Me dad?
Yeah.
No, my dad's always there.
Is he?
I don't think he's ever missed a race.
He's walking around like a creeping Jesus, isn't he?
Well, he came running up and said, "Son, you've got to stick the dries in. It's not going to rain, and the track's drying out." So the team went down to the track, sort of had a look, and so when we actually made the decision to go full dries, it was like a couple of minutes before the session. So we didn't change the springs. We kept the wet settings in, but we just put loads of preload on to stiffen it up a little bit.
All right.
And then so we went down to the grid and everyone was on dries. It wasn't like we'd.
There was a couple of people on wets, weren't there?
There was one. Tom Ward was on wets. He was
McClung was on wets.
Was he?
I think there was 5-6 here.
Right. Well,
on wets. But like you say,
the only one that I seen was Tom Ward. But all the front lads were all on dries. And when we did the warm up lap, it was obvious that dries was the right decision if it didn't rain.
But that one line, like you say, and you have to. Passing.
Yeah, be so precise.
Passing in those conditions must have been like, jeez.
Yeah, so for the first lap or two, you're sussing out where the grip is, making, because I did hit a few damp patches, and Michael Rutter hit one, the exact same thing as what I did, but I was just a bit luckier, and it didn't spit me off, and it spat him off, and it set on fire. There was a fire on the track when that's what brought the safety car out. But yeah, basically,
was that a blessing at that point?
No, because me, Coops and Taylor were quite far ahead of the rest of the field, and then when the safety car came up, it bunched everyone back up. Now, after the safety car went back in, I didn't have any problems from behind, but Coops made a move straight away on Mackenzie, and then I thought I'd seen Coops ride, and I thought he was going to pull away, so I thought I've got to get past Mackenzie straight away. So you go up through Schwann's curve, fast left-hander, fifth gear, flat fifth up the hill, hit the brakes into the McLean's, which is a right-hander, and usually I like to stick it up the inside there, but there was damp patch, so I actually went around the outside of Mackenzie on the brakes and then just tipped in, and fair play to him, he didn't give us it. So as I sort of leant over the front of his bike, I heard him pick the throttle back up and he just nailed us in the side, and I've got a big tyre mark from his front tyre on my arm and on my leg, but we went all the way around McLean, sort of touching each other. But I held the line and managed to pass him. And then it was the following corner. He had a huge high side.
It was big, wasn't it?
But
it kind of just tapped off, didn't it?
Yeah, he was lucky that he didn't get seriously hurt, because Lee Jackson and Larty were really close, and they did a fantastic job not to run him over. So, but the way I've been thinking about that is, if you can't exactly extrapolate that if I didn't pass him, he would have crashed. But I was thinking, do you know what I'm saying? If I didn't make that move around McLean's and he had crashed, I would have probably got collected in that incident. So, yeah, basically he had that crash and it slowed the rest of the pack down behind, and me and Coops sort of left. And then a few laps behind Cooper, and I just felt dead comfortable, so I decided to make my move. And then, like you say, we started hitting back markers quite early, and difficult to pass in those conditions, because it's
look at the draw where you find them. For
some reason I kept hitting them at the top of Craner Curves, Hollywood, which is, for those that don't know the track, it's like you accelerate out of Redgate second, third, fourth, fifth, and then you nail it down a right-hander, which is quite a steep hill, and then it flicks into a left-hander. But that was probably the worst part of the track for the damp patches. It just wasn't drying, so I kept hitting them at the same place, and I was getting sort of held up a little bit, but then managing to get past them. But unbeknown to me, it was actually causing Cooper a bit more of a problem. So they were called, and a couple of times he got held up, which certainly helped me, ease a bit of a lead. But I did the fastest lap of the race, pulled a nice gap, and the winning margin ended up being 3.5 seconds, which is pretty comfortable. But yeah, like you say, going on that last lap, I was just thinking to myself, don't make a mistake, nice and smooth, just hitting all my points. And then that feeling of going over the line, in the last 6 years, there's not been one race at BSB which I've finished and I've been totally content with, because even if I've had a mint race and battled and finished second, there's still that feeling of going over the line and thinking, good race, looking, getting a podium and stuff. But there's that thing of
you want to win.
You're there to win. Yeah, exactly. You didn't win. So at the end of the day, that's what you're there for. And even if you do, second and it was better than you expected or anything, it's still not a race win. So for the first time of just, going down Craner Curve, stood on the foot pegs, waving at me. I see me dad and
doing what Cooper's been doing all year.
Loads of my sponsors, and it's for anyone that races that knows that feeling, it is mega.
Mate,
and
I could hear you through. I watched the highlights, which were shite, right? The actual coverage of that race, which was a shame. And you coming over the line, both hands, right, like uppercutting, tucked in, and I could hear you scream through the telly, and I was just going, yes, son. You can just see what that means, because normally people go over big wheelies being a dick, and you could feel the passion, how much you wanted it.
I almost missed the turn one because I was smashing the tank and just screaming as loud as I possibly could, and I looked up and I thought, shit. And then I've got some friends and some sponsors in the box, the corporate boxes on the left hand side.
Yeah.
So I was trying to hit the brakes and stay on the dry pod, but I was trying to wave at them at the same time. And then I had quite a few of my sponsors and my family were around turn one, so I was waving at them, and then all the lads just pulling alongside of us and shaking my hand. Teammates, ex-teammates, just friends. So yeah, it was amazing. And I'm not a very emotional person. Like, I don't cry at movies. I just don't cry very often. And I just burst out crying, and I cried all the way around the.
You soft shite.
I was proper crying. I was really, really emotional, and then pulled into the Park Ferme. Piggy was there, gave him a big hug. My girlfriend came in, a few sponsors, and then went up on the podium. Alan Carter's, who I had on as a guest back. I've actually sort of got in touch with Alan and became friends with him through doing this podcast. I had him on as a guest. Since then, he's been coaching us and helping us, and it really has made a big difference. And he joined us. He came up on the podium and gave us a hug, which was nice. And then Larry Carter tried to interview us, and I could hardly talk. I was that emotional. And obviously podium celebrations, and then back to the team to see everyone, and it was really good. So obviously we've only got one round left, and obviously I'll be looking to do the same. It would be great to get another race win.
The thing is, now you can just enjoy this one, if you know what I mean. It's like the championship's already decided, which is awesome. You're there to win. I'm not denying that, but now you've done it, son. You've won a British championship race at stock 1,000 level, and that, I think that'll bring it on more, because you'll just be like, I've done it now. I can't do it, and it's in your head, and you can't do it again, and you will do it again.
Monkey off your back.
Like,
and it would be the same for you, obviously, when you got that first race win over at the island in the classic, and it gives you that sort of renewed confidence that you can do it, and it's like we've been saying, there's no feeling like it, is there?
No, there's not. It's absolutely. Oh, but mate, honestly, I am absolutely over the moon. I am going to take full credit for it, mind. Totally full credit for it.
You'll have to come more often now.
No, because I haven't.
Mascot.
I haven't told you this, but I had my first crash of the year. The day before, right?
I heard about that.
I was with. Oh God, Nathan stopped us, and obviously I was out with pit bike racing, endurance racing at Tuttershall or something like that with BR8 racing. Anyway, set off on the bike, beating Billy Big Ball, singing, it's just a kid's bike, screw it, I'm the man, no bother. Anyway, stone cold tyres, tipped in the first corner, no brake, no nothing, the front folded.
Shit.
and I wrote Nathan's bike off. I put a hole through the clutch cover. I'm like, just totally wrecked his bike. So anyway, what do? So I bought his wife a bottle of wine and bought him a crate of cider. And thought, yeah, that'll keep you quiet, young'un. That'll keep you quiet.
Speaking of Nathan, they've just set their own podcast up, haven't they? I had a listen to it actually the other day.
They're drinking my ciders and they're copying our bloody show here, aren't they? They're just a South Yorkshire version of us.
South Yorkshire version. But on the topic of obviously the whole BSB thing, I went through my race. The rest of the weekend, good close racing. Scott Redden was absolutely phenomenal. Watched qualifying in the dry, banged it on pole by half a second. But there was 0.5 between him and Brooks, and then there was another, like the next half a second there was about 8 riders in that next half second. So Scott Redden was really the cream of the crop, and dominated the weekend, won both races by a comfortable margin. The the other sort of news for the weekend was Jack Kennedy wrapped up the Supersport Championship.
Yeah.
So obviously well deserved. He's been by far the best rider in that championship this year. And in Superstock, we're actually supposed to have Kyle Ryde, who's won the GP2 championship this year. But
he got tangled up big style, didn't he?
Yeah, well, he's very close with Richard Cooper. They share a caravan, and I think Richard kind of helps him and mentors him, which
is working.
Yeah,
well, they're both British champions.
Exactly, he's had a strong year this year, but he was actually riding as Richard Cooper's teammate, so Richard was, guiding him, and he was towing him round, and the two of them looked really strong through practice and qualifying. But at the end of qualifying, there was an incident where basically Kyle Ryde came out of Goddard's, the last corner, slipstreamed Ben Godfrey, both on Suzuki's. So he passed him, and then as he's passed him, obviously the racing line's on the left-hand side to go into turn one. Kyle's passed him and then come back in front of
to correct the line.
Ben, in order to get a good sweep at turn one.
Thinking he's had enough room to pull in.
But hasn't considered the fact that Ben is right up his chuff. So when, you're doing like
130 plus, easy.
You're flat in fifth there, I think. So,
God.
Yeah. It's
plus the VAT? 130 plus the VAT? Really?
It'll be over 150 mile an hour, I would have thought.
Oh, yeah.
So he's passed him and then pulled right onto the left-hand side and basically left Ben no room, and he's hit the brakes ready for turn one, and obviously at that speed you don't have time to react, and Ben's just poof straight up, and Ben actually got caught between his back wheel and his seat, so his legs got in there. They've both come off the bikes, which is fast crash. That both bikes totally written off, and Kyle broke his wrist, Ben's broke his leg and had a few other injuries. Yeah, he lost a load of skin. So send my best wishes to Ben. I've seen the CCTV footage. It looked a horrendous accident, and to be honest, I think he's lucky to come away with just a broken leg. An accident like that could quite easily be fatal, and it was.
Well, we all know the sport, and these, it's I don't know what to say about it, to be fair, mate. It's just it's a racing incident. Don't get me wrong. Kyle at no point's ever gone thinking I'm going to go do this, and the pair of them have. It's a racing incident.
It certainly wouldn't have been on purpose.
No, not whatsoever.
It's a bit of a lack of awareness of if it was the other way around.
Yes, I know what you're saying. Yeah, it's just. But like you say, hopefully, both on the mend, and they'll both be back racing at top level like the pair of them are. And which is great.
Well, obviously, there's only one round left, and then they've got the full winter to recover.
Exactly.
Ben's actually been racing in the World Endurance Championship, so I think the next round was supposed to be out. So he was telling us it was somewhere like quite exotic, but obviously he won't be able to make that now, which he'll be really disappointed with. But like I say, both lads will get fixed up and be back strong for next year.
Yeah.
Other sort of news in the BSB paddock and like the gossip, there's been quite a few signings. Jack Kennedy is, after winning the British Supersport Championship for the Appleyard McAdams team, he's stepping up with Yamaha, but on the privateer team, Tag Racing.
Yeah, on the R1, yeah.
Yeah, on the R1. So at the moment, that's Sean Winfield and Dan Linfoot. They've re-signed Dan Linfoot. Jack's going to be joining them on a superbike, and Sean Winfield's actually dropping back to Superstock, which I think is a good move for him, to be honest. He'll be a lot more competitive in the Superstock Championship, and it'll be good to see Jack Kennedy on the superbike. Last time Jack was in superbikes, he was riding for WD-40, and I know the WD-40 lads, cracking bunch of lads. Jeff Cruss runs the team. Got some good mechanics, but for some reason they've never done anything on superbikes. Whoever rides their superbike, it's a good Kawasaki. It'll have all the bells and whistles. It's a good, well-financed team, but for some reason
it just hasn't gelled.
Yeah, I mean, look at how good Tommy Bridewell is. He's race wins, battling for the championship. He couldn't make that bike work. So
says everything.
So the fact Jack didn't do much on that bike, it for me doesn't say a lot, and I personally think he'll have a good good chance on the Tag Yamaha. It's a good bike, and I'm sure between him and Dan Linfoot, they'll push each other on, and we could see some good racing next year. Another signing, Lee Jackson's moving up from the FS3 Superstock
Stock to Superbike.
Staying with FS3, going on to the Superbike to join Danny Buchan. But FS3's just been announced to be taking over the official Kawasaki team.
Yeah, so taking off JG Speedfit.
Yeah, Bournemouth Kawasaki are stepping back, so Pete Exton's taken that team out. They've had an absolute disaster of a year. After winning the championship last year with Leon Haslam, they have had a shocker this year. And both Ben Curry and Barbara they're just really struggling. I don't know what it is. Obviously, Danny Buchan's doing the business on the same bike, but for some reason that team...
It hasn't blended. Yeah, hasn't blended.
They haven't had a good year at all. I'm sure there's another signing, but I'm just on the BSB website.
Even quickly mowing through MotoGP. Obviously, Marquez won number 8 there, but Jake Dixon's swapping teams in Moto2, isn't he?
Yeah, so he's been on the KTM this year, and he's gone over to the Kalex, so a stronger chassis, I would think, and he's going with one of the best teams in the paddock, so it really will be.
It'll be very good to see.
No excuses, and it'll either go well and he'll continue with a career in the Grand Prix, or it won't, and he'll probably end up back at BSB or World Superbikes. But wish Jake the very best. He's a fantastic lad, really talented, and hope. We haven't got many Brits in that paddock, so we really could do with him doing the business next year. Obviously, Sam Lowes is with the Mark VDS team as well, which is the best ride for that championship. So
definitely,
we could possibly have 2 strong Brits battling for that championship. Another just before we finish the BSB roundup. Great to see Rory's going to take his
podium since the British.
It was a mega race, him and Westy battling on the last lap, and he rode really smart. Great lad, Rory. He's racing in Supersport, which is a competitive championship, but he's running it. Him and his dad. I think they ran out of finance before this round, and a few people have stepped in on through social media to help him out, and he's repaid them with a fantastic race, and good to see. He's a quality act, is Rory Skinner. Anything else that you'd like to mention?
Well, obviously the most important thing.
Go on.
I'm coming back to the BSB paddock next year.
Are you?
I am.
Go on.
I am. The sole reason is because have you seen the amount of hinnies walking around in them tight leather leggings? My giddy aunt, man. I'm walking around like Sid the Sex Pest. I'm telling you, I'm just like my giddy aunt.
Sid the Sexist from Viz magazine.
Sid the Sex Pest or Sid the Sexist, my giddy aunt. It's like, oh, pet, do you like fruit? Oh, pet, you like fruit? Because this is a ripe peach. Have a look at this. Oh my Gideon, honestly, I'm walking around. I tell you what, the confidence in them thighs, all them legs went to base camp, Chrissy. I'm walking around like a dog on heat. And I'm like, I'm going, Jesus, Ted. My good God. But anyway, keeps the blood pumping anyway. Keeps me human.
I've heard a few funny Sid the Sexist things, but maybe not
on this episode. We're running out of time here. We're gonna have to introduce our UK Clubsport representative.
Yeah, sure. So, that rounds up all the BSB chat, and now we're going to head over to a Skype conversation with Aaron League from UK Clubsport. Over Aaron.
One more thing before we hand it totally over. I'm totally joking, Cooper, about the moustache. I love it a bit. Now on to our guest. Love you, mate.
So, we're joined by Aaron League from UK Clubsport magazine for a little club racing update. Aaron, can you hear us okay?
Yes, loud and clear.
Loud and clear. So I've just read the latest mag, and
you could land airplanes for a living, Chris. You don't teach in taxing. You like, can you hear us? Come in, Roger. No, it's not Roger for a start. Yeah. Sorry, don't let me interrupt you here.
I've just read the latest mag, and obviously the club. Well, the season's coming to a close, and what's the scenes like? What's happening in club racing at the moment?
Yeah, sadly. I mean, good plug straight off the bat there, Chrissy. You're good at that. Oh, just read the mag. Yeah, it cracked maths today. It should have done, and then depending on how Royal Mail feels, it's probably going to make it to most people tomorrow. But
I mean, Chrissy's practically royalty anyway, so he gets everything first class. Everything first class. So bless everyone else. That's it.
Yeah, sadly, everything's sort of coming to a close. I mean, we had quite a very, very busy September. October's looking relatively thin, but I think as we as we record this, the North East will be this weekend at East Fortune, the Ian Bell Trophy for sidecars, which is always a really good meeting and has a great turnout. And then No Limits is going to be at Crofts. Wirral 100 is going to be at Anglesey for their final double header, and Darley-Moore, of course, the Stars meeting. And then I think next weekend is Oulton Park for Thundersport, their finale, and then sadly, that's. I mean, there's always going to keep stuff going, you know.
I was about to say, you want to keep that going, so hold on. So what's after? So the following weekend's Thundersport, then is BSB, isn't it?
BSB is the same week. Yep.
It'll be the same weekend. Yeah. So that'll be
same weekend.
Brands Hatch. Yeah.
Then what's after that? You're saying there's what's
and then we've got, so we've got the Sunflower at the end of the month, which I believe is the 26th of October, and that's going to be a bit of a change this year because I think in previous seasons it's been an Ulster Superbike Championship round. Now I remember we reported earlier in the year that there was I don't know the specifics of it, but there was a change such that round is now not part of the Ulster Superbike Championship. So that the Ulster SBK wrapped up last weekend at St Angelo. Carl Phillips obviously won the Superbike title and all that, and a load of other guys. But so that will be interesting. I mean, there's always a really good turnout there. Richard Cooper's being confirmed. Ewan McGlinchey is a former club star and obviously the junior Supersport champion from last year. He's been confirmed on, I want to say, is it McAdoo Kawasaki's?
Right. Yes. Yeah, Adam McLean's team. All right, that'll be the first time it's been out since Tam McGee.
Yeah, so that's what Bishop's Court I think just put out. So
is the Sunflower just a standalone event this year then?
I believe so. Yeah, I mean it's always sort of a standalone event. You know, they have, you get the likes of like last year, Danny Buchan, Michael Laverty, Richard Cooper, Glenn Irwin's done it in the past, Jeremy McWilliams. A lot of the guys that kind of come out for one-off races will come out for the Sunflower, just because I think it's a sort of last hurrah for the year on short circuits almost, and it brings out. I mean, I guess if you don't count the plum pudding at Mallory Park on December 26th, but yeah, it's kind of the last hurrah for club racing for the year, so it gets all the big boys out.
Are we going to see UK Clubsport walking around drinking Guinness then?
No, sadly not.
Hold on, you Americans love Guinness, man. You love being Irish, don't you? You lot. So there you go.
What do they call it? It's the piss water. It's Budweiser. And Miller something like that.
Good man.
Obviously, with the championships drawn to a close, there's a few big championships that have already been wrapped up, like Lee Williams taking the GP1 title. Is there any sort of battles that you're really looking forward to seeing that are like really, really close, and it's going to be quite a big finale?
Yeah, I mean it'll be interesting to see what happens at the Stars this weekend. Again, that'll probably be when does the podcast go out? Was it a couple of days?
We'll get live,
mate. It's live, so it's totally live. So it's
excellent.
Right now, so you've got to.
We'll get it out in the next couple of days. We're recording this on the 10th of October. So yeah, within the next few days, it should be out.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, so it might make before the Stars. I mean, that'll be interesting to see. I think Richard Cooper is always It was this time last year, because he won the last BSB race last year.
That's right.
It was either at the beginning or the end of like a whole 3 weeks where he was winning everything. I mean, he won the Stars, and then he won BSB, and then he won the Sunflower. So it was like
I remember.
Cooper rules the world. Yeah.
Yeah, the last BSB race, and I think when he flew over to do the Sunflower, won all 3 races on the Saturday, and then flew back and raced
the Stars.
And won that as well.
It's mental, isn't it? Yeah.
Is there any confirmed list of who's going to be at Stars of Darley?
Danny Buchan usually. Oh, sorry, I was talking about
the Sunflower. Sorry, any
Stars of Darley. Yeah, do you know anyone else other than Richard Cooper that's going to be turning up? Maybe Leon Geacock will be one.
Yeah, Leon Geacock I think is always there. McGuinness should be there. There's a whole bunch of.
The price is right. Hey!
Yeah.
The money grabbing Northern lad that he is.
Yeah. I mean, Kyle Ride was meant to be there. I think he's probably out because of his wrist injury now. Brad Vickers, Forrest Dunn, Dan Sale, Ben Scranage, Jim Hodson, Josh Daly, Ash Stone, some of the championship leaders there.
Go on, now keep it going, mate. This is a hell of a list.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of the that's just in the big bike races, I believe, and then you've got a lot of the guys going there for championships. Tony Griffiths is going to be fighting for another one to add to his massive collection already. Mark Brailsford, Dave Carson's already wrapped up the mini Sound of Thunder there. Adam Walters, Anthony Froggett. So it's going to be quite a busy round. I think definitely the one to look out for is Richard Cooper. There are a couple guys that have taken it to him in the past few years, but he's, I think we have to call him the favourite, and he's going to be hard to beat.
And it was it last weekend? No, 2 weekends ago that you were down at Scarborough for the Gold Cup. Did you have a good weekend down there? Obviously, the weather didn't really play ball, but I've heard it was a good weekend.
Bless, man, it was a really good. I think we had a good time. I mean, it was wet, and the Saturday was great. The Saturday was absolutely wonderful, and actually on the Sunday, it was damp and all that, and pretty miserable. But the paddock atmosphere was still good, and I think it didn't really scare people away, which was encouraging. But yeah, it was a good weekend overall, and we were there for the last Gold Cup in 2017. So it was good to see it sort of come back full force and see the new organisation getting back going again. We were leaving actually on the Sunday night, and I mean, I'm sure you know, Chrissy, and the press is always the last ones out, right? When Zoe's doing your press and whenever she's the BSB, last one's out. When you guys leave, the work starts for us. So we were heading out, and I think we took the way down the back way from the top field, so onto I think it's called Jackson Road or Jackson Street. Down the bottom there, and so we took the caravan out, and we get there, and there's a road closed sign, and we're thinking, God, we've got to go into the field to turn around, which was already muddy as anything. And your man Brad Vickers was there. I don't know what he was doing. He was trying to help one of the trucks or something, but luckily I caught his eye, and I was like,
truck.
Yeah, food truck. Yeah, yeah. And he says, so he helps the truck back up so we can get in to turn around, and he says, if I back this guy up, will you be able to spin it around in the field? And I said, we'll give it a go. Right, so we hit the field as fast as possible. I say as fast, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but the caravan's fishtailing in the back, and we start to slow down, and we're thinking this is going to be a very long night if we don't get out of here. And you know that you ever get stuck in mud and you think, this is it, I'm stuck. And you finally you grab a little bit of traction and you just get enough to keep going. We got that, luckily. And but yeah, I mean, it was we made it out eventually with a bit of mud on the side. But,
it reminds us of the old motocross days, then finishing the weekend in a muddy field and having to get dragged out by a tractor.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, but yeah, it was a good weekend. Some strong competition and stuff. I think Dom had some really good battles with Ian Locker and Joey Thompson and Brad as well in the Super Twin races. Yeah, and unfortunately for Dom, I think Ian Locker's he's got more wins in him yet, man. He doesn't seem to be losing.
Also, a 60 grand Italian pattern also really helps the situation. But I'm not bitter about it or anything. You know what I mean?
Doesn't sound like it. Doesn't sound like it.
No. I've only been there once. We could rack off the excuses. But we haven't got time for that on Chase the Racing because we're totally unbiased. And we like to keep things straight and narrow. Like UK Clubsport, we're journalists. We give the knowledge out there.
Also, have you got much planned for the mag over the off season? Like, what's UK Clubsport going to be up to?
Yeah, definitely. So we've got. I mean, to be honest, the racing never really stops. This month, goes right to the end of the month. So we'll be kind of taking a look back at some of the stuff from October in the next mag. But we've got a couple of features for some club racers that have done some really standout things this season. We've got some looks back, best of 2019. We've got some really interesting tech features on engine internals and suspension and tires and stuff coming in the off season. But obviously, the racing, like I say, doesn't really stop. We've got Macau to look forward to, which some club racers. You've got Dom, Phil Kroll. I don't know exactly what the entry list is there yet, but there's club guys all over doing all sorts of things over the winter. So yeah, it doesn't slow. And then there's obviously the cemetery circuit races in December, plus the plum pudding at Mallory Park. Yeah,
So
lots
who's
of
at
stuff.
the Cemetery Road races? It's we've got Coops has confirmed, Lee Johnson's going back. Is Peter Hickman returning?
I would imagine so. Yeah, I don't.
Because he was there last year. He was there last year, and obviously he won. But the guy who was leading the race, he just properly rolled off the throttle. He had such a big lead on him, and he was pretty much waving at the crowd. And Hickman just absolutely went through him like a cheap slapper. It was great. It's on camera. It's on board. Absolutely, absolutely.
You've got the best anecdotes of anyone I've ever heard. Went through him like a cheap slapper.
It's very descriptive. You're not going to lie with that.
It was another one from the TT. I think you said, "Oh, you were talking to someone, and he said, oh, the track's dirtier than my mind or my imagination or something."
Oh well, I got dragged up, not brought up. You know how it is, man.
That's what a Hexham upbringing gets you.
Naturally. Hey, he's even slagging off Hexham already, man. You've been hanging around with our Zoe too long. Yeah, they are.
Oh man. Yeah, so it never stops really. We've got, and then before you know it, you've got sort of that. We've got Macau, we've got the cemetery circuit, we've got the plum pudding. By January, there's people testing in Spain already, and then February the sort of pre-season testing for the clubs is already starting. So it's a very short off season for the clubs. Yeah.
Here's a question for you: if we're going to interview anybody, like one person from the club racing scene, so it can be a rider or just a character from the paddock, but if you had to put one person forward to come on Chasing the Racing, who would your pick be?
Recommend.
Oh man, I couldn't. There's so many different people. there's Paul Rennie from No Limits, who's immediately when he said who would you, a character, right? But he talk about a character, man. He's like wireless, or what do they call them? Noise cancelling headphones don't work because of his voice. He's so loud. But he's mint. Like he's No Limits' social media man, but he does so much more for them, and really good crack. Him. Thundersport. There's a ton of guys there. There's Rob Barber's a good guy at Preston. We did an interview with him in the last edition. He's good crack as well. There's plenty of guys there. There's so many between all clubs.
We'll have the full off season, so we should have plenty of time to get a few.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
But before you go, Aaron, for anybody listening, obviously that you provide the UK Clubsport magazine with Zoe. If anyone's interested in subscribing, what's the best place to get to order?
Yeah, best place is if you go to ukclubsport.com/shop. That is, you can get subscriptions, you can get the single issues, you can get back issues, you can get hats and mugs and whatever tickles your fancy.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And obviously you've got the news on the website, and you can subscribe to the monthly magazine for, I think, you can get a yearly subscription for, I cannot remember how much it is.
It's £45.99, and that's all the shipping. 12 editions a year. It's better than, somebody described it as you couldn't get an oil change on your van for that. So.
Hey, very right, mate. And if your van breaks down, you've got something to read.
That's it.
There we go.
There you go. I keep them on my dashboard.
Good lad.
It's the only magazine that I actually get, and I think I'm so used to sitting on my phone reading news on the phone. It's actually quite refreshing to sit with a paper copy, and I certainly enjoy me read every month. So, well, thanks very much, and we'll get you back on Chasing the Racing for a club update sometime soon. And I obviously enjoy the last few weekends club racing, and we'll catch up soon.
Cheers, guys. Thanks very much. Speak to you soon.
Take care, son.
Thanks, Aaron.
Mate.
Cheers.
Yeah, bye-bye.
So a big thanks to Aaron for updating us on the club scene at the moment, and obviously with a few rounds to go. Will you be out in any racing?
Well, obviously you mentioned the North East Club there, our local club for local people. Obviously going up to East Fortune, I'm racing a Triumph 675, obviously just getting a bit more track time before Macau, China. Everyone loves China. And yeah, just heading up there. What about you, son? What's your crack for the coming weekend?
This Triumph, are you racing in, is it a stock Triumph or Supersport or?
Supersport. It's a Supersport. It's a John Trigger engine.
All right,
in the
very
thing,
good.
so it's
Mint.
obviously I think he's had a few dialing in problems and everything like that with the bike, but no, he's Peter Dobson. He's kindly asked me to race the bike for him up there, so hang around with Chicken Legend and Barsby the Blue Steel, all my mates. So I'm thoroughly looking forward to having a good weekend, if you know what I mean. Proper mint club.
We don't get much racing around here, and then Croft, No Limits are at Croft this weekend, and the North East Club are at East Fortune. They haven't really split that well because a lot of lads will do both championships, don't they? So,
which is a damn shame, because you just think, the shame can't all these clubs get together and actually just post out, look, this is what we're doing. This, so it probably always happens, if you know what I mean. But just, like you say, like for our area, nothing really happens, and then all of a sudden it happens all at once. It's a bit dog shit, like. But hey ho,
I don't know East Fortune. I've never been. Is it good track?
It's actually mint. It's very quite like road racing. Not say like there's plenty of runoff and everything like that, but like the tarmac's quite ribbly. It's got loads of character, a really nice flow to it. I love it, mate.
Aye,
I love it. Grab the wife, get yourself up there, come and have some.
Something this week. I'll see what I'm doing, but might get up.
Well, I'm out tomorrow. I'm just testing the bikes with Paul Jordan there for the RC Express team, so having a whip round Croft. So I'm doing a bit of both, really, to be fair. So.
And you've rode at Croft since it's been resurfaced, haven't you?
I did.
Like earlier this year?
Like 4 laps round it. It was just absolutely hammering down. We didn't have wet tyres, so first time on the ZX10, so it was nice. So looking forward, hopefully we'll get the weather, but I think we're going to get shite weather, but hey.
It doesn't matter. Racing's racing, isn't it? So good luck with that. So you've got Croft, East Fortune, and then are you next out at Macau?
Yeah, so that's the next big outing. But obviously there's a few weeks between there and then, and we'll discuss Macau in full detail. But no, I think that's been a pretty ram-jammed episode.
Spot on. Well, I've got a weekend off this weekend, and then down to Brands Hatch for the final BSB round next week. So looking forward to that, and we'll get a podcast in either next week or the week after.
Fantastic.
But thanks very much. Obviously, big thanks to our sponsor, Contango Training.
I thought you were going to bollocks this up for a second. I thought you were going to forget it.
And if you have tuned in to YouTube to check it out, hopefully I'll be able to sort put everything together, and it's maybe
if not, it's not going to be on YouTube.
It's maybe something different. But if you like having it on YouTube as well, just drop us a message, and if there's anything we can improve on and whatever, just let us know. And obviously, as we always say, if you haven't left a 5-star rating on iTunes, please feel free to or wherever you listen to it, all the sort of reviews and all that crap really helps us promote the podcast and go from strength to strength. And we've got we'll have some good interviews lined up for over the off season. So thanks for listening. And have you got anything else to say, Dom?
Shabba.
Shamao.
Shamao.